Hello everyone, this is Godzilla of One, and I'm back with another toy review, and today's review will be of Tempest Shadow from the Guardians of Harmony line, and her Sky Skiff, which was one of the bigger budget portions of the movie line. So let's get into it with her, and first thing you're going to notice with Tempest Shadow, she is a completely new mold. And that's of course because she has a unique body type and is wearing full body armor, which is actually really well detailed. If you look closely here, you can see the armor plates down her back and the hat collar, arm guards with the little armor, the Storm King's emblem right there, which is not molded in, it's just painted, but I don't think it would be molded in on the actual character model, so no loss there. The horseshoes down here. And she does, of course she has the thinner body type than the other figures do. And she has her scar over her right eye, or is that her left eye? I guess left eye. Which is nicely done. I think it might be a mildly different color. Also, her eyes are shaped differently than everyone else's. More angular, and she's got a more angular head. Does have this, her broken horn. With a little bit of paint to show where it broke off. And she has her mohawk. I'm amused she has a mohawk. And this is one point where the Guardians of Harmony figures having molded hair comes in handy because it means her hair can actually look like it does in the movie. And her tail. Overall, really nice figure. Nice representation of her, which is good because she was essentially the movie's main antagonist. Like, Storm King was technically the big bad, but she was sort of the actual heavy. And here she is with Fluttershy, so you can get an idea. She's a bit taller. She's not got as much... well, she probably does have about as much mass, just distributed differently. And, yeah, completely new mold, which I really appreciate because this line reused a lot of the same base molding. So it's nice to see a completely new mold. And, of course, let's move her aside and look at the Sky Skiff, which, if you recall, did not appear in the actual movie. Does kind of look like the heads of Storm King's, like, grunts. And there's actually a very funny fanfic about this thing, which I suggest looking up. But, yeah, it's primarily the same color as her armor with these blue highlights that the Storm King tends to like. But a little bit of this, like, dark red color that is also the same color as her mane. Let me see if I can get it in a way that you can see it, but the light's not drowning it out. And the wings, which, it's a big piece. It's a pretty big piece of plastic, and does have this purple color on the side here, which is nice. I kind of might have wanted her to come with, like, Grubber, because that was her sidekick. But it's a nice little feature, and it does have... the wings will fold down, so it's fully out, which I like as a collector because it means I can display it on a shelf without it taking up, like, that much real estate. And it does have this moving tail fin back here. But it's a pretty big hunk of plastic. We'll get into that later. And accessory-wise, well, that is an accessory. Yeah, but it also comes with these ecto-cooler green missiles, which I'm not going to shoot, but just know that they do shoot pretty far. You just insert them in here, push them back. They are spring-loaded. I won't launch them because if I launch them, I will never find them. That is kind of how things go in toy reviews, but they are a nice little missile launcher gimmick, which looks good. Also, one thing I don't like, though, is that the screws are exposed on both sides. I would have preferred if the screws were, like, on the inside of the boosters, so they were harder to see, but it is still a nice design. But before we get into that more, let's get to Tempest's articulation. Her head is on a swivel, can move all the way around because the collar is is above the joint rather than below it, which I do appreciate. Head can move down all the way. The one thing is her neck joint is a bit loose. Like, her neck joint is a little loose. Not, like, cripplingly loose, but loose enough that it's noticeable. Tail is on a ball joint, can move any way you really want it to. Shoulders. Her shoulders are a tiny bit more limited because of the shoulder armor, but not to an insane degree. can move forward that far. You know, they're not limited in any direction that way. And she has a knee that can move forward that far and back that far and can rotate around. So, good range of movement on the front legs. Because of the, you know, horseshoes, it's easier to tell which way her legs are supposed to be facing. And as for her hind legs, can just rotate the full bit that all of them can. So she does have quite a bit of good bit of articulation, which is good because she is actually a fighter, so you can get a few poses out of her. Of course, the main point of this figure is her gimmick, but I'm pretty sure she can still stand on her hind legs if you maneuver, and there's the loose head neck joint. If you maneuver her right, I'm fairly certain you can get her standing on her hind legs. Let's see. Okay, it's a little tricky, but that's kind of with all of them, but you can get her standing fully on her hind legs. But the big thing is, of course, this thing, so let's get into that. Essentially what you need to do is set her like this, like she'd be doing a Superman pose if she was flying, and there's this clip right in here, which can be folded down if you wanted to, but I'm honestly not sure why it does, but you want to make sure her front leg hooves go into the underneath the front canopy, and then snap this in around her waist, like so. And there she is. You can maneuver her a little bit in there to get her in a few different poses. And she is actually pretty secure in there, so if you have a kid and want them to play with it and they like flying her upside down for whatever reason, she'll be perfectly secure in there. Only thing is that her head seems to actually get more loose when she's in here. I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, I don't know why that would ever be the case. I honestly don't. Unless it's something to do with her front legs and the internal joint, maybe. But it makes absolutely no sense that her neck would go from a little loose to barely able to hold itself up. That's a really weird thing. But as for what she can do in this, she of course does have the missile launchers, which aren't interfered with by her being in it, by the way, because they actually fly past her. So no problems there. Essentially the way this works is it's one of those classic pull back and it goes forward toys. So if we grab her, I've got some stuff over there we'll crash into without causing any damage. So if you pull it back and then let go, she'll still manage to almost fly off of my review stage. But, yep, she goes decently fast, and she shouldn't be much of a problem for a kid. Like, she doesn't go so fast that it will damage anything, and I don't think it can damage itself in a crash either. But, in general, not a bad toy. Like, I honestly probably would have preferred the plastic that went into this to go into something that actually was from the movie, but it's not a bad accessory. Like, there are times that toys have these big honking accessories that add absolutely nothing to them. I don't think this is the case. I think this is a cool little accessory gimmick, and it inspired a really funny fanfic that you can find on FemFiction. So I think it's a good toy. Like, and for a little kid's gonna be really enjoying like flying this around and going, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, so if you have a little kid, I think this is a really good toy for them because it feels durable enough that it can last through some play. And again, Tempest herself is a good figure, and she's an important character from the movie. She only appears like once more after that, but in the movie she's the main villain essentially, Storm King being like, he's technically the main villain, but he doesn't appear until the end, so he's more of a greater scope villain, and she's more the heavy and the direct threat. So she's an important character if you're collecting movie figures, so I can recommend it. It's a pretty good figure. I like that they actually did give her a mohawk. That's cool. And I like Tempest Shadow as a character, so I appreciate that. Anyway, I give it a recommendation. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye! I still don't have a catchphrase.